Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today on Outlaw Woodworking, I'm going to tell you the five reasons I've had to hit the emergency stop on my Avid Cnc machine. And it's usually, I've had to hit the emergency stop probably 20 times since I've owned this machine, maybe more. And it all comes down to my mistakes. It's never really the machine, although a couple times I've had bits break for no reason. That they're 1/4 inch and they would break, and then that would cause trouble. So you really want to have your eyes on the machine all the time. And there's 5 reasons, and let me go over each one. I'll stop. Well, the first reason is material not being fastened to the table. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can fasten your material. I've used double-sided tape. I've shot my material down with a nail gun, a plastic nail gun, and the other way is I use these Rockler clamps. Now the Rockler clamps have been the easiest because I can basically set up a 45-degree or a 90-degree jig and then clamp my material using my T-track in there. But the number one is not having your material down, because if you go to do a V-carve or any kind of cutting, there is pressures side to side, and if you don't have it down good, you could run into catastrophe, and that's what happens to me. So I've learned I use these Rockler clamps with my T-track, and I make sure I have good side-to-side force and that it's not going to come up. And I've started to become a lot more successful with this. So that's the number one, material being fastened down to your table. And yeah, let's go to number 2. I'll stop. Number 2 reason for hitting the emergency stop is you're looking at your project that you're doing, and all of a sudden you notice it's cutting right outside of your material, and that's because you didn't do your dimensions right. And I've had this happen to myself, even though I measure quite a bit. I'll measure it, and I'll hold the tape measure over an inch, but I'll forget to subtract that inch, and then I'll ruin the project. So your measurements, and I'll see it right away, and I'll have to hit the emergency button. So measurements are critical. Double check your measurements, and you'll have good success. I'll stop. Number 3 is basically a bits break. And I've had 2 of these white side bits break in just the first couple weeks of using them. I had a V-bit break and also a round nose bit that I used for doing the juice catcher. And I was running the V-bit, and all of a sudden I noticed it just broke, and then nothing was cutting, and I had to hit the emergency stop and figure out what was going on. And so yeah, broken bits, that does happen, especially with these 1/4 inch ones. And I think in the future, actually, I'll order 1/2 inch shanks instead of 1/4 inch shanks in the future. And I'm not sure if they warranty that kind of stuff. You know, it didn't hit anything. It was just, I was doing a lot of V-cutting, and then all of a sudden it just broke. I'll stop. Number 4 is verify your work coordinates on your Mach 4 before you turn it on. One time I did a bit change, and I was supposed to do the G-code change at the same time. I forgot to upload the second tool G-code, and all of a sudden that bit started cutting the previous tool's path and ruined the project. So that's number 4. Always check your G-code on your Mach 4, make sure it looks like it's supposed to, make sure it's the right tool. So that was one of the 4 different times that I had to hit the emergency stop. I'll stop. Number 5 is check your router bit. And all these things are on the cycle start checklist. But I had a router bit, it come loose and started digging into the bottom. And then also when it dug into the bottom, then the bit went back up into the chuck, and then it wasn't cutting anything, and then that's how I knew something was wrong. Thanks for watching this episode of Outlaw Woodworking. So the emergency stop, it happens. You know, you just need to be aware of it, be ready to hit it, and those are the main reasons actually. And if you go down the cycle start checklist, the number one thing on the list is the emergency stop, and then home the machine, material dimensions, preview your tool path, secure your work holding, check your router bit, verify coordinates. And if you go through all those steps, chances are you'll correct yourself and you won't make the mistakes that I've made. But I've had to, like I said, I've had to hit the emergency stop many times, and the 5 reasons were as I described. The first one being the material not being held down properly. That's happened to me quite a few times, probably half a dozen times. And whether it's using double-sided tape or the clamps, different reasons. And yeah, the second reason was tool bit, the bits breaking, which that's not my fault, but could be the speeds or something was wrong. But I did have a couple bits break. And then your material dimensions, that's critical. And I've made that mistake quite a few times where I don't, the end of the tape isn't very accurate. You can see how they kind of are loose. So I tend to, when I'm measuring something, I'll hold it over an inch, like that's 7 inches, but really it's only 6 inches because I didn't subtract that inch. And I've made that mistake a few times. And yeah, anyway, those are some of the lessons that I've learned in the last few months of hitting the emergency stop. But each time I get a little better, and yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe, like the video. I'll see you next time. Later.